Hello, everyone. It's Luis Fernandez with the LRF Group, and I want to first wish you all a happy new year. And it's 2025. I'm looking forward to a great year. There's an article here from HousingWire which talks about the interest rate mortgages staying high and how that can be beneficial. I want to read it to you. So without any further delay, let's get right into it. It says here that heading into the 2025 housing market, we haven't had this many homeowners with mortgage rates over 6% since 2016. According to the latest FHA data, as of Q3 2024, 17.2% of outstanding mortgages, which is roughly around 8.7 million borrowers, are carrying mortgages with an interest rate over 6%. In the last decade, as more and more homebuyers finance their purchases with mortgage rates in the 4s or lower, an interesting thing has happened. We held on to these homes longer and resold them less often. Available inventory of homes for sale fell each year as more and more borrowers had this cheap financing. These borrowers find themselves a great deal on their loan and lock themselves into a really terrific cheap payments. Most people didn't notice this growing lock-in effect as it was developing in the mid-2010s, but it was well underway. In 2016, ended with 14% less available inventory than the year before. Each year, more people had cheaper mortgages, and each year, fewer people sold their homes. People started to pay attention when mortgage rates hit record lows during the pandemic. Suddenly, almost everyone in the country, 83% of all borrowers, had the cheap mortgages. Not coincidentally, inventory hit records low. None of those homeowners wanted to sell. This has a long-term consequence. Talks here about auto research data. We track every home for sale in the country every week. We can see the momentum of these changes immediately. The total inventory for sale through 2015 and 2025 has a graph here. And back in 2015, you had close to, I would say, it was 1.2 million homes on the market across the country, and then it started falling pretty quickly at around, I would say, January of 2020. It came down to 739,000 homes to a low of 247,000 homes nationwide back in January 1st of 2022. It's picked up now. We ended the year in 2024 with 667,466 homes available nationwide, but still way below that 1.2 million that we started back in 2015. So it goes on to say here, excuse me one second here. Let me see what, let me get in here. It goes on to say that we can see this impact in a number of statistics. Tenure of ownership keeps climbing. We used to hold on to homes for 7 years. Now we hold them for about 10 years. The average age of outstanding loan climbed steadily during the cheap money decade, dropped during the pandemic frenzy, and is now skyrocketing as homeowners hunker down. The average age of all outstanding mortgages is now 72 months, up from 59 months at the end of the pandemic-free money boom. Well, that's it. Cheap mortgage rates locked in for 30 years make people want to hold on to their homes. The opposite is true. As mortgages get more expensive, more homeowners want to sell their homes. People with expensive mortgages are more likely to sell their house. They'll sell when it's their primary residence to finance the next home. They'll sell investment properties where the cash flow just doesn't pencil like it would with a 4% loan. They'll unload some of the properties with ultra-cheap loans to finance the next purchase. The more folks with expensive loans, the greater the available inventory of homes on the market. By June this year, we should expect that over 20% of U.S. borrowers will have mortgages with a 30-year fixed rate greater than 6%, levels not seen for a decade. As long as mortgage rates stay elevated, which seems likely for at least 2025, we'll build a market with more and more homeowners with expensive mortgages. The impact will be felt for years. The next 5 years, we could end the year with more than 10 million homeowners with these expensive mortgages, compared to just 3 million as we emerge from the pandemic frenzy in Q1 of 2022. That's a lot more would-be home sellers when the time comes. Not all of them are ready to sell right now. Of course, life events takes time to materialize, but each year with higher rates means more willing home sellers. In 2025, we expect unsold inventory of homes on the market to get very close to the 2018 levels. If the mortgage rates stay elevated into 2026, we could easily see inventory grow back to 1 million homes or more, the levels that we used to consider normal a decade ago. What happens when we have all of these homes on the market? Well, more selection for buyers, for one thing. In the last 10 years, home buyers, especially first-time home buyers, have been trapped in competitive situations with poor selection and often bidding wars. Only the best prepared buyers would win. In the next few years, this implies better opportunities for beleaguered home buyers who have been battling for scraps of inventory since 2015. The pressure finally subsides. There will be less upward pressure on home prices. Home prices have pressed relentlessly higher across the country, even when demand was low in 2023 and 2024. Supply was still so tight in many markets that home prices rose. That trend is now flat for home prices for several more years, maybe even to the end of the decade. It also means muted equity increases. It'll be much more risky era to buy with very low down payment. It'll be an era where fewer investors can speculate by buying multiple properties with the equity gain of the existing portfolio. As home prices stay flat for multiple years, it means income will increase faster than home prices, so affordability improves over the rest of the decade. Stubbornly high mortgage rates as our path to finally solving the affordability crisis in America. Wouldn't that be ironic outcome? Well, I think a lot of what this article talks about has a lot of sense to it. There's clearly, we are increasing the inventory of homes in the last, in this past year especially. We ended, like I said, close to 650,000 homes. And we started back in January 1 of 2023 with only 410,000 homes nationwide. But since then, we have been climbing, and it's a good thing. And I expect this first quarter of this year, more properties are going to be on the market. Usually the first quarter of the year is one of our busiest season, regardless of where you are across the country. So I hope this article was informative. If you need any questions or more details, please do not hesitate to reach out to my team. We are licensed not only in Florida and New York, and we are relocation specialists here to assist you in your moves and your purchases anywhere across the country. Till next time, thank you so much for listening, and continue on listening because we're looking out for you and the best interest of your property. All the very best.